afternoon and welcome to the Tuesday, February 4th meeting of the Watershed Committee. We have all our committee members here today, as well as staff, as well as our Town Board Liaison. Thanks for coming. First order of business is approval of minutes back from our November meeting. If anybody had any comments, questions, concerns on that? Seeing none, we'll consider those approved. Then I had a request from Mike Simon for a moment to address the committee.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. This past Thursday, we attended the 40th Annual APWA Genesee Valley Awards Banquet. I've been a member of Genesee Valley APWA for many, many years, and I'm immediate past president of the New York State chapter. We were very pleased that the Town of Penfield got Environmental Project of the Year for the great work on the Allens Creek project. Congratulations to Mark, Mike, Amy, and the whole team. A lot of work went into that. Very prestigious award. I know that this has been ongoing for several administrations, going back to Supervisor LaFountain, Supervisor Cincy, Supervisor Draw, Supervisor Leanhouse, and Supervisor Leanhouse was also in attendance. So that was fantastic, and again, congratulations. I know that Bartnum Judas did the design, and we heard nothing but good things about JB Excavating. And if you haven't had a chance, we did do the tour down there this past summer or fall, and just a phenomenal job. So I just wanted to take the time to personally thank the team and the town on the prestigious award from APWA. So thank you.
No, thank you.
Yay.
Yes, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, it was a great project. Happy to be recognized by APWA, and
Yep.
Many thanks to the selection committee for recognizing us for that. But it was again a group effort and a long time coming. This committee's talked about it for a long time.
Yes.
So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, I just want to also point out that it's automatically going to be considered for the state award.
Oh, good.
And that state award, that banquet, the state banquet, is going to be in March. So I think it's a great project to be considered for the state, and we hope you do move forward. But if not, it was a job well done, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll jump into our discussions. So first item on our discussions is the stream cleaning updates. Bob, you want to brief us on where we stand?
So we're on the Marshner Road project. We've got pretty much all the tree grubbing removed off-site by now. Might be just a few little pieces left to go on that, and they're going to be starting the actual ditch cleaning hopefully this week if it stops snowing. We've got probably a week or so left to go on that project if the weather cooperates, and we'll be done with that one.
Where is that, Mark? Or Bob, I'm sorry.
North of Marshner Road,
Yeah.
Just east of Harris.
Okay. And is that whole stretch through there?
Yeah, that northern piece there. So you can kind of see the Webster development off of 250, the new apartment complex. Mike's kind of got it up in the corner.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's that was one of the reasons we kind of targeted this area, because their drainage is directed to flow through. So they've got a pond in the corner, and they're looking to discharge into Penfield. It kind of comes in, and that actually ends up back in Webster. But that was something, knowing their project was going on, we wanted to target that area, make sure that drainage ditch was flowing. I know we've had some beaver dams and some other stuff, in that area in the past that have caused some blockages. Yeah,
we got some pipes that we're going to upsize because of that development up there. Their discharge is, I think, it's a 15-inch pipe coming into it, and we have a 12-inch pipe in line, so we're going to upsize that to at least a 15, if not maybe an 18, just so we don't have any restriction in flow there if we do get a big storm event. Try to alleviate the flooding going back into the school property there. It's right there.
Okay. And then I know that we've just recently sent out releases. We do have a permit for the south side of the road, so that jumps over Marcher on the south side and then goes east of Harris. That we just sent out releases for on that, so we'll see as those start to come in. Hopefully we can transition from the one side of the road over to the other and continue on with that piece. So we do have a couple other permits around in town, so we're sent out releases to those and then see which we can get the releases for first and then where we kind of move to next. And then we typically annually have our DPW crew. They go out and much to our thanks, they go out and volunteer to walk, many of our streams. So when they're not plowing, this year has been a kind of a heavier snow, cold weather. Obviously, plowing and salting come first. But days when they're not plowing and they're looking for other projects, they've got Julie and Rich Gross that have offered, and thanks to Julie, who's taken it over, as Rich is looking to retire, so many thanks to Rich for his years of assistance to us. But they go out and walk the streams and look at different areas. So we've got a map that we have all the streams on, and we try to keep track of which year we did them, so we can kind of have some consistency to when and kind of hopefully be more proactive than reactive, at least to go out and walk them and look at all the different streams. And especially lately with the emerald ash borer, all the ash trees have died, and then with these heavy windstorms we have, they start falling and dropping any time of the year, but then end up blocking the stream. So as they go out and kind of walk it and say, we've got some blockages, hopefully if it's simple enough as just a tree fell over, we can go out, pluck it, pull it out. Obviously, if the tree's blocked and then now starts collecting some sediment, then it gets into a point we got to ask for permits and go through DEC and Army Corps to request permits to get in and actually dig and remove any sediment. But if it's just tree removal, we can do that without permits for that. Any other questions on stream cleaning? Say this time of year is a little quieter for us. Obviously, their crews are busy plowing, so some years in the past, it's been less snow and less plowing. We've been able to kind of get ahead this year. Obviously, we're back to more winters of old, so they got to do their main daytime job. And but we'll keep at the streams and kind of keep going with that. And then as they walk the new ones, see what we've got to work with, and then apply for the permits and start that cycle. As it usually takes us a year or two to get the permits. We try to stay as much ahead of the DPW crew as we can. Nothing else on that one. Leads right into, so there's new DEC wetland regulations that came out as of January 1st. So the New York State DEC basically got rid of all of their regulatory mapping. Sounds good, but that's had a lot of uncertainty or question for us. So basically before they had maps, and Mike's pulling up the maps that show, we've got it on our website. So if you go to our web viewer, you can see all the streams, and then you can see the DEC map, wetlands, as well as the 100-foot buffer area that goes around them. For whatever reason why, the DEC says I don't think they could keep up with mapping the wetlands. So basically they said we're not having any mapping anymore. So anything and everything can be a wetland. So if you think it's any chance of being a wetland, you need to send a letter you need to make application on their website. It goes to Albany. They have 90 days to respond and say, yes, we believe you have a wetland on your property, or no, we don't. If they say, no, you don't, then you can proceed with your project. If they don't respond in 90 days, you have to send them a certified letter to Albany. They have 10 days to respond to that. If they don't respond, then you can carry forward. If they say, yes, you have a wetland potentially on your property, you then need to contact the local DEC, go through the joint app process, the joint application for permit, submit it to the local people, and then ask them for a delineation of said wetland. So this is brand new as of January 1st. So this is going to potentially change things on our end. We always check the wetland maps. There's DEC, which is here, and then there's also Army Corps, so federal wetland maps. So we always check those. If we check those, then you think you're pretty good. We do have companies on retainer if we do need to do wetland delineation, but this has kind of changed the playing field a little bit as how do we approach stream cleanings and town projects and other stuff. We're just going to extend that process even longer to make sure that obviously we're doing what we should be doing and following proper process.
So let me just sort of throw out a hypothetical. So let's say it's been a very dry couple of summers. Let's just assume it's been a dry couple of summers. And someone who has not previously had that land, purchases a piece of land or inherits a piece of land or something and says, yeah, I think I'd like to build a barn on it. I'd like to build a house on it. I'd like to build something on it. It's up to them to think, wow, I wonder if this could be a wetland, or what if they just start building on it and it turns out it actually was a wetland? This, to me, doesn't make a lot of sense.
That's some of what we're struggling with, and all communities are struggling with this, is how is this going to work? So we're retaining the mapping as it was, and obviously if it falls anywhere near that, they've adopted, and I don't know if we have this on our website, they also put out, I don't know what they call them, potential wetland areas. So they've adopted another set of mapping that overlays on those that is in a pinkish purple color, and it's called potential wetlands. So we'll kind of monitor both of those, and obviously on our end, if we're on the reviewing end of things, if we see anybody that's anywhere close to that, we would defer and say, hey, you guys need to go get a delineation from DEC before you can proceed, just as a regulatory to make sure we follow that up. But yeah, that's kind of...
I think they call that the check zone, Mark.
Well, they used to have the 500-foot check zone, but they've
Okay, that's
done away with that. And I don't know if Mike's pulling it up, but it's just brand new.
Gotcha.
There's these other pink, purple potential wetlands that aren't delineated, but I think it's kind of these could be.
Yeah. Okay.
This is obviously the first time, sharing it out. We did sit through, they had a webinar on it, shared information on it. Obviously, this is new for all New York State.
Yikes.
Yeah, I think Mike's pulling it up. So now, these pinky purple bubbles that are kind of in and around the green DEC regional wetlands, so it looks like they're going smaller. So as of current, DEC has delineated wetlands 12.4 acres and above. Why that number, I don't know.
I think it's 1 hectare.
Okay.
That's where that comes from.
So then they shared, now they're going down to 7.4. But somebody asked, why is it 7.4? And they said that's half of 12.4. Yeah, I couldn't get the math to work for myself, but.
Blame it on the metric system. That's what everybody
something.
does.
So now they're saying they're going down to 7.4 acre sized wetland parcels, but as you can see on here, that's these pinky purple areas that are showing up on the screen. So the green is what was a DEC regulated wetland before. So if anybody, to your point, Donna, if anybody who's anywhere near those, we would ask for a delineation. We don't take the hard, fast green line, but saying, hey, you guys are within this area, you ought to get it delineated, you ought to check on that. As of January 1st, they've adopted these new pinky purple areas. And I don't know what they're calling them, areas of wetland concern, natural communities. So that'll be another check for us if somebody's in and around that and wants to develop that, we would ask them to, get a delineation done. But brand new information, brand new stuff coming out. Potentially could add a lot of time because I don't know that DEC had, adequate staffing before. Now they're adding a whole lot more regulation, and if you're asking for delineation or, that many more permits coming in, this could add significant delay to meet to many projects is kind of what I'm seeing.
Did you say they are eliminating it or not ceasing to update it?
They've said that these are no longer counting as regulated areas, but then they issued the pink and purple that go along with it.
Right.
So obviously, we're going to kind of keep them both just as a reference to say this is what it was previously. It just seemed a little confusing. If they're eliminating their wetland mapping, then why did we adopt new potential ones that aren't officially regulated, but they're areas of concern or areas that might be wetland.
And do you know from a historical basis, when they did update it, how frequently? Was it an annual?
No.
2 years? You don't?
It was not very often.
Okay.
So, and maybe that's, and I think that's where it came from, is they said, we're having trouble keeping up with updating the wetlands and keeping it current. I kind of get that, but to say, we're eliminating the wetland mapping, but then to adopt these new revised and updated, boundaries, but they're not official, so that's not a new, the pinky purple aren't saying, well, this is the new regulated, this is just kind of another check zone, to your point, Mike, that they had before. They had the 100-foot buffer around a regular wetland, and then they had a 500-foot check zone around it. This just, adds a little bit more complication to everything, so wanted to share with this group and obviously the public at large, so, as these things come forward and we share, Mike's turning on all the different layers. So you see on the screen, you kind of have the green limit of it, then you've got the light blue is typically the 100-foot, or the limit, the blue line's the 100-foot buffer on it, and then the red is kind of a 500-foot check zone, which, we've kind of had, all along. But this new areas of extra concern, so it's going to be an interesting time kind of going forward, getting wetland delineations and that determination, one from Albany, with your JD letter, and then after that, working with the local DEC to get that.
So you don't have to
Delineated and-
do anything if it's in the 500 but not in their new zone? I mean, so if you're outside their new zone, even though it falls in the 500...
Theoretically, you shouldn't.
You should be done, you should be clean.
Yeah, theoretically, you should be good.
Okay.
If you're anywhere close to that, we would recommend that you'd submit the JD letter, so jurisdictional determination letter to Albany, and then at least get a no back to confirm, but they've got 90 days for that. If you don't hear from them in 90 days, then you've got to send your own certified letter to them, wait 10 days. If you don't hear from them again, then you should be good. If you hear back and they say, yes, you potentially have wetland, you need to get it delineated, then you got to talk to the local DEC, submit your joint application for permit, and then see, and they gave no time frame on what the response from the local, there was no, within 6 months, 3 months, there was no time frame on the local DEC regulation response, so. Going to be a challenge, it's definitely something new. Again, we still have the federal wetlands, so these are all things we've got on our, this is the DEC's resource mapper Mike has up. We'll have them on our own GIS viewer, so they're informational purpose at this point. They're no longer regulated, so it's considered informational, but that's stuff, we check in-house as new applications come in. Donna, to your point, we check before somebody gets started or a building permit is issued just to say, hey, you might be in a regulatory area, make sure you check with these other agencies before you get too far along.
Sure, because it hurts both, it hurts in two different ways. It hurts the environment if people go into, build into these areas, but it also hurts if someone built in the area thinking that it's okay, and then they're flooded for the rest of the life of their project,
Yeah, as I say, it's going to definitely add a extra level or challenge as, we kind of move forward is, people in their land rights to use their property and, develop, as they meet the codes and regs, but obviously make sure we're not, impacting the environment and keeping out of those areas, so.
Thanks for the update, Mark.
Sure. Any other questions? I don't know if I have more answers, but that's as much as I know about it to this point. So next, annual pond inspections. So again, this is a thank you and a kudos to the DPW. We've got to go out and inspect our ponds every 3 years. Actually, our crews go out every year and do it. So anything that we own, we've got to go out every 3 years and inspect. There's checklist forms so to make sure the outfall structure is functioning properly, the inlet pipes aren't blocked, it's not getting overgrown with vegetation, if there's animal burrows. There's a whole checklist of items to go through. So again, thanks to Rich Gross, he's been doing it for a number of years. We give him a map of all the ponds and then the checklist, and then he kind of goes out and goes through those, and then he comes back and says these ones have concerns. We can go out and look at those, and then that's something that also passes on to be a work order for the DPW to say, again, hey guys, you're not plowing, it's shoulder season between projects and everything else. It gives them an opportunity to go out and do some regular maintenance to kind of keep these up and keep these maintained, as everything requires some level of maintenance to keep it functional. And then Julie, and I don't know Julie's last name,
Grace.
give her a shout out, but she's volunteered to carry this forward. So as Rich is moving towards retirement, she stepped up, and thanks to her that she's had interest in it. And so she's followed Rich. I think this is her second year. She's followed Rich doing it, and she's taken over those. So many thanks to both of them for doing that. And then obviously keeping up our inventory. And then every 3 years, we send out a letter to all the private pond owners. They've got to do the same thing. So they've got to hire an engineer to do an inspection on their own, submit us a letter in order to keep us in compliance. So we've got the regulatory on the end of making sure the private groups are in compliance, as well as the town ourselves doing our own pond inspections. Any questions on pond inspections? So updates on the communications to the Stormwater Coalition. We're going through a couple of changes. So one, obviously, we've got a new MS4 permit. So the MS4 is what we are considered a municipal separate storm sewer system. So we're designated by the DEC to take over the site inspections, the pond inspections, outfalls, all of that. So we've got a new permit that went into effect as of last year. So I think we shared, there were some June items that were due at 6 months, January items that we just completed, and then now we've got to do our annual permit, and that's changed a little bit this year as well. So it's a little bit different format, a little bit different setup. It's more of a checklist, checkbox style, did you do it, didn't you do it? So we've got to have that in by April 1st, I believe. So we'll start working on that, compiling. We've got to compile the things you've done during the year. We'll need from Bob, the number of streets that were swept, parking lots clean, catch basins cleaned out. So you've got to have some metrics with that, as well as, how much communication did you do with the public? This committee, as we always say, is a huge asset to Penfield. I don't know if any other committee or community has a watershed committee, so having the opportunity to talk about it, be on TV, share. And then we're also going through, I'll say, a rebrand of the H2O Hero. But the group we've been working with, we're changing some things up, with them. So we should see some new educational efforts and new educational items, coming out in the new year with that. So at this point now, we're kind of focused on the April 1st, deadline. So as our future meetings come up, we'll share that with this group. As we've done in the past, we'll put that on our town website. So that's also part of the MS4 requirements, is you have it available for the public to review. So we've, in the past, I think it's supposed to be up for a month. I think we leave it up from 1 year and then replace it with the next year. But as we go through the checklist and that information, we'll put that on the website so the public has access to review and comment on that document as well. I'm trying to think of anything else I've missed on the MS4 permit. Mike? Nothing else? Okay. I say I shared what was new with the state DEC wetland regulations. Anybody have any old business? Any new business to share? No? Okay.
Hey, Mark. Dave Woodard called me last night, and he was looking to see if that stream that's over on Rothfuss's on the east side between the houses, I think we had some tree issue in there in the past. He's dug the ditches up to the back side of that. He was wondering if we have anything on that going forward, where it goes between the houses and crosses Salt Road south of Mary Lou's house there.
Okay.
He was questioning if we had anything on the book, and I couldn't remember off the top of my head last night when he called.
I don't think we have any current active permits on it. We'd have to look, if it's one that's just mowing and vegetation, we can do that. If it needed to be cleaned or dredged again, likely.
I think he was saying it needed to be cleaned because there was a couple of trees that were growing in the very bottom, I believe have been removed.
Okay.
But that's caused that area to back up a little bit through there and settle, a lot of sediment in there.
Okay. Yeah, if we're doing any digging, dredging, we'll need a
Yeah.
permit for that, so we can look at getting that, get that down a little?
Down right there. Right there it goes, yes.
Yeah, I know we'd cleaned that, or we'd done a portion of that a couple of years ago, I thought. Maybe it's been, whenever I say a couple, means a lot more than that, but add 5 or 10 to it.
But he couldn't make it tonight. He wanted me to inquire about it, at least have it on the...
I know we did the west side behind the farmstead, Mary Lou's
Right, we
house.
did that over there.
A number of years ago, so maybe that's the side I'm thinking we did more recently than up through the east side. Okay. We can look. I don't believe we have any active permits right now, so
Okay.
it means we'd likely have to, go make the joint app, make the application, submit that, and then at this point, it probably would be a, next year project at the earliest.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to thank Bob and the crew for all they do. I know it's years in the making to get the permits, and I've witnessed a lot of the work that you and your team have done, and I really appreciate keeping these facilities clean. And I know Penfield's been very progressive with the Watershed Committee and that over the past 30, 40 years, so thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
Mark, I have another question. It's unrelated to what we've had on the agenda, but it has come up in a number of meetings I know that I've been in, and I think Linda has been in some of them. If maybe, I don't know if Mike could pull up the sewer, basically the sewer map, and we could kind of understand what our relationship is with Webster and Fairport with respect to our pumping and what goes what way. People have been asking, I know they've been asking, I've been at town hall meetings, I know they've been asking their neighbors have been asking me, and I think it has a lot to do with concerns about what might be built on 250.
Shed layer.
So, and I think anybody watching probably would be interested.
Are you talking about sanitary or storm?
Sanitary.
Oh.
So, yes, Mike's pulling up the sewer shed map, so we can zoom in just a little bit. So the areas in blue go to Webster. So we did, and that includes kind of the Rocco Pines is the latest piece that's going to Webster. So there's a regional pump station on Plank Road that goes north, so that pumps up into the D'Angelo neighborhood. And then we recently did a project with Webster to do a bypass on State Road. So that portion goes north, so blue to the north. The purple area drains gravity to the south and west. So that kind of goes down to the Panorama Park, or if it's on the bay area, but that goes to the interceptor sewer. As Mike's kind of highlighting, there's a county interceptor, and we might have a layer for that. So that's a gravity feed that goes basically from southeast Monroe County, kind of cuts through and goes all the way to Van Layer. So that goes directly to the county. And then the portion in red, kind of in that southeast, 250, 441 is the portion that goes down to Perrington.
Okay,
So currently, Penfield doesn't have any sewer treatment plants.
right.
We did have some in the past. We had Philbrook Park was one down there, and we had one on Smith Road. Those have both been decommissioned, so at this point, we rely on other communities, and cross agreements with them. So the one, they say that goes down to Perrington, goes into their town. It actually just, I think, flows through Barrington and then goes to the county anyway. I don't think Perrington does any treatment in that area, but it does flow into their town. And then we do have one tiny little portion that does go to Brighton. I'm seeing the little yellow on the map, so it's the end of Collingsworth. We did a little sewer project on the end of that, so its home's actually in Penfield, but it goes into Brighton on that, and then the pink portion goes directly to the county, and then the blue goes to the town of Webster. It goes through their treatment in Webster.
So what would you, I don't know if you can really easily estimate, but what would you estimate what level we would be at in terms of the capacity? How much excess capacity is there in the sanitary sewer system at this point?
That's one of the things we're looking at, and the town board, in conjunction with doing mapping we've got to do for the stormwater, we're
Right.
piggybacking doing the sanitary sewer. So that's one of the things that we're actually looking to look at. So once we've hired Costas Engineering, have them go out and do survey work, so they're doing rim and invert pipe size, of all of our storm and sanitary throughout the town. The town board, through the ARPA funds, allocated $100,000 to that. That won't get the project done, but it's a good first step to it. But once we have that, then we can do more capacity studies and see what we do have. We do have, and Bob, you probably know how many pump stations we have in town, 20-something range
24, 25, I think.
pump stations in town now that facilitate the gravity flow. So I don't have a number of units we've got
No,
left.
no, I wasn't really sure you'd have it off the top of your head. I
But
just-
yeah, that's something we want to look at is, we've had some capacity studies done, especially for the mixed-use area. So the 250 corridor, we did have a study done for that area, knowing that kind of falls into 3 basins. So some of it flows west, so the Arbor's development right now, they're putting in a regional pump station that actually pumps up past the town hall, connects in out front here, and then actually goes down Jackson Road and through the wetland area. The lower portion behind the YMCA goes through Country Club East. So it's one portion, and then everything kind of north of that and the east side flows down the east side of 250 and then down into Pump Station 19, I think is the one that's right on 250 as you go into the Perrington Town line. So those ones we do know. Those ones we had capacity studies done on those fairly recently. The other areas of town, I know the sewer department probably is much more cognizant of where we are in capacity, but those are kind of our 3 sewer basins where we can flow to. So as new development comes in, you got to see how do you relate to those, what's the area of that, and then may need a new sewer capacity study and some new areas to see if there's additional units available.
Okay, thank you.
Any-
Look, I'm looking at Linda's face. She looks like she has a question.
Anybody else? Questions? Okay. Thanks for coming out. Good discussion. So our next meeting will be March 4th, same time, same location. Thanks, everybody. We'll adjourn at 4:31 PM.